Welcome to Full Time Devils. It's me, Jay. With me is Abdul, and United have made a signing. Abdul, can you believe it? We've actually signed someone. Apparently, reports are that Daniel James is having his medical, so he's not yet. It's a start. He's not put pen to paper, but pretty much looks like it's going to be our first signing of the summer, our first main signing anyway. I know we signed.
It looked like for weeks that it was just about preparing deals. It's every single time something comes up, Man United are preparing a deal. So everything just seemed too slow, and I guess it's good to see something come in. I know Daniel James, of course, loads of spectacle about him because they're not, you come from the Championship, United need that top class player, around the pitch, and you need the right top class player, not just any top class player in Europe, that right winger that we've been wanting. But obviously Daniel James has played on the left as well mainly, so that's a lot of concerns that Man United fans have spoken about. But negatives aside, when we've watched what he's done, if you look at the Manchester City game, as a United fan, when you watch City or Liverpool and they're coming up against a team in the Championship and the FA Cup, you always look for like that player on the opposition that's going to pick the ball up and make things happen. I think in that City game he did exactly that. He picked the ball up and he ran straight onto that City defence all game, caused them trouble. And if we're just looking off that, because I think he switched wings around that game quite a lot, and if you speak to Swansea fans are actually saying online that he's comfortable playing on either flank, and he's sort of, when you look at him play, from the research that I've done, it's almost like he can adjust to turn his body in certain ways, like whereas you got certain players that can't play on both flanks, and I think that's sort of something United have always lacked since we've lost maybe Nani. I think Nani's the only player, the last player that we had that could comfortably play on either flank. And I think Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford aren't ready to do that yet, or don't have that level of experience to play on either flank. And I know Daniel James is younger as well, but he does look comfortable on either flank, and I'd like someone to maybe have that versatility about them that can come off the bench or can start and have that work rate that Daniel James has.
At the moment he's having his medical. It looks like it's going to be 15 million plus add-ons, which will go up to 18 million. So that's sort of what we're looking at in terms of his transfer fee. You spoke about him as being a winger and how he's a little bit different from Rashford and Martial. Is he more of a natural winger? Because when I think of Anthony Martial and I think of Marcus Rashford, I don't think of them as wingers.
They're more inside forwards.
Yeah, inside forwards is what how you look at it. In
the modern game, you look at Mo Salah. Mo Salah isn't a proper winger.
No.
He's the perfect inside forward. He's brilliant at it. He scores goals. His positioning is fantastic. And I think that's what Anthony Martial could be if the rest of the team can cater for him to be that guy. And I think because we haven't got the ball winners in midfield like the likes of Liverpool have, or City, or the top teams in Europe, it doesn't allow someone like Martial to solely focus on scoring the goals. I know he should be doing better sometimes off the ball. At the same time, you've got Marcus Rashford, who we've seen him play as a winger under Mourinho. I didn't enjoy having him out wide. I think it's the way Mourinho used him. I think he can be a good winger because we've seen Van Gaal use him brilliantly when he was younger as well and just broke through the team. And I just think that bringing in someone like Daniel James, someone who could stretch the play a bit better, that could help. I'm not saying he should start straight away, but the other thing that Daniel James gives you is actually the press in midfield. A lot of when we're doing our research last week, is that he'd press the wingers and the midfielders of the opposition side into trouble. He won't particularly win the ball back, but he'd press them almost into the Swansea midfielders or into Swansea defenders. So that could be something that Ollie's looked at, because like I said, the best teams, you look at Liverpool, they've not got the biggest names, Jordan Henderson, who I don't, for all the criticism that people have given him over the years, I didn't think he was awful, but he's got that work rate in him. You say, he's a current Champions League winner. I know we don't want to talk about it, but
too much comparisons with Liverpool there for my liking. I get where you're coming from now.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you look at the level of the names. A lot of people always expect the big names, but that style, that player that looks to press and win the ball back, that's what the best teams want right now in Europe. And United are definitely levels behind that. And I think that's why maybe a signing like Daniel James, where he's not expected to start, but you know what he can give you. The last 10 games of the season, he was directly involved in six goals. So that could have pushed it as well, because he turned it up towards the end of the season. And 15 million right now is pennies for a club like Manchester United. Absolutely nothing for any club right now. You look at Bournemouth, who make signings. I think he was I think they signed for well over like 15 million.
I think it was 19 million. I think they paid for him.
Mental.
Yeah.
And you look at that level of signing. So you know what? You guys let us know. Personally, I think it's not a bad shout bringing in someone like James now, because he's not expected to start straight away, and it also, you know, it doesn't add the pressure yet on Rashford and Martial. I think we need someone like a Sancho, someone to come in to then get them thinking, you know, I need to sort my crap out. But it does get him in the mix there somehow.
When you look at him and you say that he's not necessarily someone who would start, when he does play or when he does start, how does he fit in? Do we have to change the system, or does he naturally fit into the way that Ollie's been playing? I
think the way Ollie plays, we've seen him try the diamond where you have Marcus Rashford and Martial and Jesse Lingard behind them, and I think that does work in some games. I think he can sort of either play as your proper winger, even though I've not really seen him play from what I've watched, other than the pressing that he does when he comes into midfield. I've not really seen him pick the ball up crazy amounts in the middle. He has that press about him and you know, chasing the midfielders down, and I think if he plays in the central area, he's able to carry the ball. He can play sort of where Jesse Lingard plays in that diamond. So that could be someone else he challenges in the side, or you know, that's another position he can challenge for. So if we play the diamond, I'd try him at the tip of the diamond as well, just like we see with Jesse Lingard. If we play with like a 4-4-2 sort of, when we went to Paris, a lot of people would have mistaken what our setup was. Pereira was sort of more of a winger in that game. That's why he picked the ball up. You have a proper winger who's also got the work rate and he's got that drive. As soon as he picks the ball up, I know it's just clips, but that's what everyone's hyping off, and that's why I didn't speak about it a lot, because everyone's like, oh, you watched the 2 minutes of that. But from what we're seeing is that he's got a burst on the ball. As soon as he picks it up, he drives, and I think that's something that's needed in a modern game. It means that he can play in different systems, probably a 4-3-3 and a 4-4-2. You know, if you play with a diamond as well, he can probably play there. Like I said, I've not really seen him carry the ball enough in midfield. Other than his work rate, I've not seen enough of that in midfield. So I think those are systems that he can play in. If you play a 3 at the back, I don't know where he really fits. Can't play him as a wing back. We've not seen what he can give defensively yet. So I think, again, anyone who's versatile, who's got that width about them that we clearly needed, because we're not good enough when we're going down that touchline. Like you said, Martial and Rashford are more the inside forwards. They want to get the goals, and you know, I don't think we have that proper wide.
We haven't had that. Have we? We haven't had a real winger. I mean, you mentioned Nani. Ashley Young, when he came in, it was a winger. Yeah. Valencia was a winger, but they ended up becoming fullbacks. I mean, we were in a position, we saw it against Barcelona, which I know drove you mad, where it was all going out to Young, and he's obviously, we won't go into how his crossing was, but we haven't had that, have we? The one that's resembled an out-and-out winger for me most of the time under Ole has actually been Lukaku. At times when he's drifted out wide.
So crazy. Like he's the one that's stretching the play a lot of the time. Anthony Martial, you know, for how good he is on the ball, we can't doubt his talent, and I think there's still a lot more for Tony to learn in the game. He still doesn't seem to stretch out to that touchline, and I think Marcus Rashford did that under Mourinho, but the way we set up, there's no one other than Paul Pogba that drives into the box and gives you that option. I think Rashford hasn't got that passing ability or anything about him yet to be able to do that. Anthony Martial, if he can get out to the touchline a bit more, he'll give you something. And I know when you look at some games, he does pick it up there and he gets at the players, but off the ball, I don't want it to just, you know, when our midfielder's getting closer to him, that's when he picks it up out wide. I want him to do that off the ball and get down the touchline, and Daniel James could be someone that can do that. And that's where you can puzzle sort of, you know, all the opposition you come up against, because you'll have someone who's coming on the inside all game, and you have Daniel James who can do both. And I think that's, you know, looking again at City and Liverpool, they have that. You know, Liverpool, they had Firmino in, and then they had Origi come in ahead of him. It's different roles as well. He's not a winger, but he stretched the play in a different sort of style, whereas Firmino picked it up in between the defenders in central areas. And I think that adjustment that he can make in a side can change a lot, because tactically the opposition is set up to play in a certain way, and once you have someone that can do something different to that, then you know they're going to go into a bit of a mess. So I think, yeah, that Daniel James, it's not the worst signing to get off with from what we've seen up to now, the research that we've done, and hopefully there's more to come this week.
I mean, a lot of it has been made from some fans, the fact that he's British, he's obviously Welsh. I mean, I don't really think that matters to me. It doesn't matter whether you're from Australia or you're from Audenshaw. I think the main point here is the fact that he's played in the Championship. I like that fact because as a young player in the Championship, it's a tough league, that, especially for a winger. You're going to come against some hefty challenges, and the fact that he's been able to sort of shine in that league fills me with a bit of hope for him as well, because I think he's at an age where he can kick on coming into United. We've seen Axel Tuanzebe's had a great season in the Championship as well. We could have him back in the side. Mason Greenwood, he got a start. There's some good young players there that we might have at our disposal next season. You think this could be sort of the way forward to getting some of these youngsters into the mix, especially with Europa League as well, where we're going to have a lot of games.
That's why I think the signing of Daniel James is, and that's a good point, reminded me of that, you know, having the Europa League gives you that option to, that's where you can play, and if, you know, he's going from the Championship to playing in Europa League and not even getting promoted in the Championship with Swansea City. That's a big step for him, and if he can prove himself there straight off the bat, then, you know, there's question marks to who can stay in the team the week after when you play in the Premier League or in the same week. So it's a good headache to have if he comes in and plays in Europe, and that's what we want to see. You know, we're not going to lie to ourselves. I'd love us to go and win Europa. You always want to win the competition that you're in, but I think when we won it, you mentioned this a lot recently, like we just sort of were like, oh, we're going to win it now and just get on with it, and I think that's what signing someone like Daniel James is going to give you, that, you know, where just throw them in and whatever happens if they prove themselves. I think last time when we won it, Jose sort of focused on it from January almost. He gave up on the league. That obviously isn't going to happen this time. I can't see that happening anyway. The reason to that, and I think Arsenal messed up with that, because Arsenal had started the season. Arsenal did brilliantly because they had pretty much a team for Europa League with a couple of rotations in and out of the usual Premier League side. Once they hit that final stage, it's understandable. They had their best players, but I think that was Emery, because he's I think he might have won the most to now, or I'm not too wrong.
He has won a few, I think. Yeah,
he has won a few. I think he's up there and one of the managers that have won the most. But I think he has that experience in Europe, and he wasn't able towards the end of that Europa League to change his team around. There wasn't the options, and I think that's what we don't want. And the young players that we have coming through, I'm pretty sure Garner can play brilliantly with the ball at his feet in Europe. I'm certain of that. I've seen the way he scans around him in midfield. He understands the game, reads the game, gives you that calm presence. He already gives you that. That in young players, that is special. I think someone like Garner, then you got Tuanzebe in. If you sign like Koulibaly or De Ligt, where do you play Tuanzebe when he's not playing? He can play in a back three with whoever we have, but you still want to play in Europe. It's brilliant experience for everyone involved, and I think that will be a good step towards, you know, going in the season after that. If those young players have the experience in Europe and they get to a final or something like that, that'll be pretty huge for them. And you know what? If those players can drive us to a final, like I said, Daniel James, Tuanzebe or whoever, I won't even be mad at Ollie if he played him in that, because they drove us all the way. Because whatever it is, what it is, and I think that's the experience they need.
It is what it is.
We won the Europa League a couple of years ago. It's not particularly, you know.
It could be. We were speaking about the podcast. That could be a way into the Champions League. If it ends up, you know, we're finishing sixth, and that's
you earned your place. No matter what age you are, no matter how big your name is, how small your name is in the team, and if you earned your place, you earned your place, and that's hopefully what Daniel James is sort of what he gives us next season, to be honest.
He sounds like an exciting young player, the sort of player that United fans will like to see, and as you've mentioned there, the glimpses we've seen of him, he certainly looks like he's got massive amounts of potential, and it sounds like the sort of signing that United need to be making instead of spending lots of money. We saw with Sanchez how that didn't work out in terms of wages and all the rest of it. Maybe we need to start looking at younger players that are up and coming, and he's a step in the right direction. This has been Full Time Devils. Abdul, thanks for joining me. You can check out Adam McCullough. He's going to be giving another update as well. He'll be going live later on, so do get involved. Let us know your thoughts on Daniel James. We're waiting for that to be fully confirmed. What we've been told is reports are he's having his medical, so it's looking like £80 million, and he's going to be United's first major signing of the summer transfer window. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.